listening to the Questionnaire.
Say that again.
You're listening to the Questionnaires.
I've just started. Right here, for your ears, for your eyes.
The Questionnaire.
Get your Comic on.
Poke it out, poke it out, poke it out, poke it out.
Contrary to popular belief, yeah, this is one heck of a quest, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm loving it. Yeah, this is the Questionnaire. I am the unknown factor, right? And, we're going to get into some comic books, typical things, man. We've had, these past few quests have been phenomenal. I think, actually, let me see. See, now I got to think. Yeah. Should be dropping that right now. I've got that in right now. We've got Wagner coming up. We got Shadia coming up. We got Eric Schultz getting ready to drop. And, so many great co-hosts over on that from, Eric Schultz just dropped with Lana Congus. You can check that out. We've got, Vlad with Doug. That was a great conversation. I'm trying to think. I feel like I'm skipping something. I know for a fact I am. You know what I'm saying? We just had John Delaney on, getting into all kinds of things that he's done with Scott. And I'm missing some other stuff. Go check it out. It's we've got a lot going on. We started playing D&D. We're getting ready to do more of that, which is wild, man. It's wild. And Hannibal as a DM is phenomenal, right? But with Shadia, someone that was a co-host and is back as co-host, and we're gonna see, can I get it right? Can I get it right? See, if I was looking at it, I feel like maybe I should look at it before I say it, right? Yeah? Lovern? Kindzierski.
That works.
All right, see, and then, Lovern, you remember last time you were on an episode and my boy was up and I had to go deal with it? And yes.
How are you, Lovern?
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, just, fading into the distance.
Aren't we all in this industry in a way?
Man.
Feels like it sometimes.
I was explaining to, who was it now? I think it was my bank, about how how long Disney takes to, Marvel takes to pay, and they were horrified. And then I said,
is it nowadays? When I was working for them, I think it's like 2 weeks.
I wish.
Shit, what is it now? Is it like net 30?
30 days.
Ugh.
And if that 30 days falls on a holiday like July the 4th or something like that, then you can get bumped to 37 days. Which, my landlord understands completely. No.
How is Marvel net 30 company? That's like a small publisher S-corp, tax deduction thing, that's garbage, man.
But it's standard now. It's the same sort of pay period at Dark Horse and Titan.
See, I can't remember Dark Horse when I was doing Hellboy during COVID. I can't remember. I wasn't paying attention. I was doing okay going into COVID. I just sold my company, so it's pretty spoiled. But Matt Cave does about 2 weeks, and I just finished a cover series for them. So, but I was surprised. I was expecting net 30 from an indie company, but yeah, that's weird. Marvel though, Disney, huh? Net 30. Yeah, they must be tight on money, huh?
Yeah. What are they worth? 173 billion?
Yeah, pretend money. It's pretend.
Yeah, but the comics aren't making that money, so the comics can't pay you, right?
Yeah, but the comics are the keepers of the brand. They keep relevant. They idea generate. They keep the images just keep coming and stories keep coming, so kids can still have it on their underwear and T-shirts and cartoons and Legos with Wolverine on them. And
I remember sitting in the offices at DC across from their legal staff. Why I won't get into. But I remember getting the lecture about the business that DC is in, and it's not printing comic books.
It's owned by Warner Brothers, so Warner Brothers wants to make IP that they can put on multimedia comic books.
Yeah.
We're just keepers of the brand. We're just like a little niche bubble of generation that they barely feed to keep alive.
Yeah.
Wait. No. Oh,
in the backyard.
I have to reference a previous conversation because it's
What's
very.
up, sir?
This is so intriguing on so many levels, because something that we recently brought up on the show, I don't think you were part of this particular quest, Lovern, was the fact that if you look at comics and the films don't drive the sale of the comics. The shows don't drive the sale of the comics. Typically, that just don't happen. Like, I was out on my job today, and somebody had no idea The Walking Dead was based on a comic book, which just blows my mind. But if you look at a series like Game of Thrones, or like something like, anytime they do something that's based on a book, I'm pretty sure even Dune, you know what I mean? Suddenly, that's all over the place. This is a major motion picture, and those book sales go up. What do you think is the derivative economic that makes that like that? That for some reason it seems like they don't care about increasing the comic book sales, but they will push the book in that precise moment.
Because publishing, even the most popular comic book of any given week is making very, very little money. So for them to invest any time and energy into comic books, anything really, is kind of a waste of their time, because everything is based on a basic commercial profit. So if comic books have no way, there's no water to squeeze out of this rock. That's why I say we're the keepers of the flame. They're not going to ever make money off of books again. They're really not. There might be one Watchmen that comes out, and say another Watchmen comes out. Everybody, it's world celebrated, sells unbelievably well. It's still a fraction of a spit in the ocean compared to the next modern warfare. So entertainment, the spectrum of entertainment, you cut the pie of everything that makes all of entertainment. Comic books, it's diaphanous, it's see-through how thin the pie slice is of the entertainment industry. So it feels really important to us. We're living it in many spectrums, as creators, as fans, as people that like to celebrate it and share that information and inspect it and dissect it with others online. So we have a great community, but you need to understand, Mike Mignola can go to his supermarket and nobody gives a flying F about him, because he's not an actor, he's not XYZ, a pop star, things like that actually generate unbelievable amounts of money. So comic books we're basically paid what they think we're worth, and that's because books only sell so much. You're talking the average comic book. I know a lot of creators are struggling to get like 2,800 in floppy sales and things like that. And these are legit creators. So doing legit books at legit companies. So 2,800 comic books is not enough to pay the bills for anybody involved in the damn making of that comic book.
It's true.
So if you're in such a loss, by the end of production and dissemination of the product, the people that you're under the umbrella, they don't even see you. They just know, every once in a while a new cool idea is stolen from comic creators by a screenwriter or a team of screenwriters and or producers that just want to push a certain narrative that came from something that bubbled up from us that was very important to us, but it was big enough that it could get their attention for, say, Deadpool, Wolverine, or just pick any of the superhero movies that you see that ideas first were generated. DC is really bad about that, just absolutely stealing what creators did, just right out of it. And so I think that's kind of what we're seen as, is kind of indentured servitude. We're not really here to create giant profits for them. We're more here as cogs in the wheel to keep the machine moving, if that makes sense. We're way down in the pit, in the belly of the beast.
So why are we here then?
Passion.
Oh yeah?
He's an artist, always struggle and still exist every generation. I was inspired as a kid. A graphic novel changed my life. A comic book changed my life. So several times comic books have, created a significant emotional event in my life. And, so that's probably why I'm here. I don't know. I could be making a lot more money doing animation and the move into directing and things like that. Who knows? Yeah. Hopefully I can still have a few years left kicking around. But
I remember having that question came up, and I remember talking with Keith Giffen about it. And Keith said that, he didn't even think. He just said battered woman syndrome.
That's got to be part of it, right? Stockholm or whatever it is. Because you have the dream and you work you know the hours we put in, like when we're struggling and you get Detective Comics and you don't sleep for 4 months trying to get something done, and you lose all your friends and your hair is falling out, and you do I don't so it happens, but it's got to be a mix of a few things. But I'd say we all got here through passion of some sort, and then it became, man, who was it? I think it was my editor, Michael Wright, my second Batman editor. I think he edited Nightwing or something. I can't even remember what I did with him early on, but I was just struggling, just drawing every little brick on the wall for Nightwing. And he's like, you got to remember at some point, this is, no matter what else you think it is, it's commercial art. And that's the reality. To be able to create, we have to sell. And to be able to sell, you have to create things that people want. And that thus creates this weird, like, inbred cycle to where it stifles creativity and newness. And then you see these masterful creators wasting their time trying to draw fan art to get more fans so they become more relevant. Yeah. And I'm very fortunate, and I think I'm by no means popular at all, but I've carved a little niche and have a fan base that has supported me, and I've made it as an indie creator. But I think that's the rarity. Most that I see are constantly, and they're amazing creators, but they're constantly, well, Batman movie's coming out, I got to get my fanboy Batman out, and the Deadpool movie's coming out, so now I got to draw Baby Yoda and Deadpool, and then get that out on social. And what happens is, I think we start chasing after fandom rather than creating, and I don't see a lot of things that, that when a real good, powerful story or piece of art comes out of a creator, it almost erupts out of them. They don't care if they're being paid. It reminds me of like when Frank Miller came back from Hollywood and he did a black and white comic book and he didn't care if it sold or not, and that was Sin City, and think how potent that was. Just potent. He didn't care. You could tell he didn't care if anybody read it or not. It's just something he had to get out of him. And I feel, I don't know, I want to see more of that in the industry. And I think we're so desperate for money, so desperate for jobs. The pond is getting smaller that you just see people fighting over nothing. And where I would say I would work on there's never been a better time to make your own damn thing, disseminate it online and sell it yourself. You don't even need an agent anymore. You can just be, hell, my former assistant who you just saw really early on, she's my studio mate now. She has 130,000 followers on Instagram. I have like 6,000 or some shit like that, you know? And so there's some sort of power that you can tap into there, to where she was just fresh out of school and she just figured out how to communicate with people online, and people took stock in her journey becoming a professional. And now she uses it to launch books on Kickstarter or push whatever, blah, blah, blah. So, you know, and she didn't do it by drawing, you know, pictures of Batman and Baby Yoda and blah, 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 whenever it was hitting. And there's nothing inherently wrong with that. I just think that's what people are, it's chasing the dragon, right? The heroin addiction, you never quite get that fix. And where I think the fix is always in you, and you gotta figure something out in you. What's your voice? What do you want to say? If that happens to be in Batman, so be it. You know, how many creators? There's been some creators that have really made some powerful statements in Batman. You know, blah blah blah. But then we also need room for Watchmen, where it's just to create something completely new to you know, get his story out, and how he want his voice in the world right then, and what comics are about, and becoming blah blah blah, mixed with, you know, socio-political everything that's going on in that brilliant book. But I don't think, you know, commissions help pay the bills, as we know, but I think people get married to them. And I think you should tighten your belt a little bit, do commissions and make the fans happy, but stop chasing them and start creating. Because I think to get to the top of the mountain, you got to make something that matters to you and not to the fans. And I think those are the real pieces of art that stand the test of time, are the ones that the artist made it solely for themselves, and not for, oh, if I draw Deadpool fighting Wolverine in Baby Yoda looking through a window in the background, this is going to sell at a con.
Look, I
No.
just need that picture, but instead of Baby Yoda, I need to replace it with Superman. But that's
Superman's good too.
that's a
There's
very
Superman in the window looking crocodile
but
eyes.
that's a very personal reason that we won't get into. I'll explain it to you later, Zach. But I'm curious because there's a lot of independent books coming out now. I mean, there are more independent books coming out right now than ever. What do you look around at? Is there anything you look around at right now, and you
I'd say
really see
the
that?
biggest. I see the flaws in that. That's a brilliant stat. That, like, Mad Cave is pumping out stuff, Image is on fire, etc. You know, Dark Horse always has a core good book list, but with creators behind it. But a lot of what I see with indie creators sometimes doing, they want to use it to get, like, they're like, well, if I was writing X-Men, this is kind of what I would do. And then they do their team book, like, and then, but you do get things like Jeff Lemire will pop some things out that just curl your toes. Like, where the hell did that come from? And it's beautiful. And so things do happen, but I worry sometimes indie comics are treated like they're the minor leagues, where I always thought they always, for me, were freedom. There was no leash. There was no ceiling above me. I could go in any direction. I could do anything I wanted. And I always saw that as freedom, where I think a lot of people see it as the minor leagues. And where I always felt when I worked at, like, DC, that was the minor leagues to me. You know, I was just in the factory floor learning how to work at a job. And by the time I was doing indie books, like Wild Blue Yonder, to me, that was when I was a true pro, you know, where I knew how to draw everything. I had a big, giant set of skills that I could pull upon to tell a story and create something new. That's when I finally felt like I was doing something. Before that, there were really fun moments, and some fun books and rides and met wonderful people, but I always felt like I was working for somebody else, which is fine, but I wasn't working for me. And that's the ultimate goal. And you got to work for other people. But I'm just saying, my whole goal was I have my own voice and I have things to say. And sometimes that means you team up with Joe Hill, but sometimes that means you create a Bigfoot story making fun of 1981 Americana, you know? So you don't get to follow your muse, I think, as much. And you got to really, I think, find out, why are you doing comic books? Do you want to tell a story that matters? Do you want to be part of a franchise that you loved as a kid, say like Spider-Man or Batman? Nothing's wrong, but know it. And I'd say be the best version of that.
I think it's funny though, because I mean, obviously, it depends upon what you're doing in comics, what your experience is going to be. I would say though, when you're on the artistic end, like if you're coloring, if you're doing the inking, if you're doing the drawing, if you're taking more than 2 books a month, um, I'm assuming you're probably hurting your own brain. You know.
Your body probably more. Your brain always hurts, but
Okay, but as a writer,
I'm sure we took years off our life. I mean, Lovern's 27. Look at him. The comic books fuck you up. Oh, oops. F you up. Screw you up. Ding you up.
Yeah.
But, yeah, there's a huge toll, you know, for being a creator. And, like, you also have to find, like, I can't do monthlies. I cannot. I tried, and man, you're working 80-hour weeks, and Lovern is no stranger to that. That's common for comic books.
Yeah, well, I started that when I was George Freeman's assistant, and that's still the lifestyle. I work 24/7.
I literally worked until this podcast started. I'm gonna go eat supper, walk my dogs, and I got a cover to finish. You know, that's the jet set. That's the joke I made when we first came on. I was like, this is the lifestyle of a comic book artist. That's why we're all shitty at a con. Like,
make sure you fit a shower in there sometime.
Yeah, my moment of realizing I was a professional was, I forget what we were working on, probably Elric, and it was a crazy deadline, and I think I just put in 72 hours, and I fell asleep on the desk at the board, and I woke up and had to repaint the stuff that I fell asleep on, and then I remembered meeting Jim Steranko and him telling me about when he was working on the Chandler book. And when he was working on the Chandler book, he lived in the studio for a month.
Wow.
And he said he told me about how he knew it was time to put on a new pot of coffee was when he woke up at the board. He'd wake up at the board, put on a new pot of coffee, and keep going. And I thought, I just woke up at the board, put on a new pot of coffee. I'm a professional.
That's awesome, man. And that's the reality. I think that'd be a ubiquitous story in some aspect with every pro. It is, and that's why I feel bad when, like, creators will get yelled at for being late. It's like, man, you get a cold and it screws up the deadline. You get a toe and it screws up the deadline. And much less a real illness and a sick dog and kids and mortgage and weather and car exploding, and it's just and you're 2 days late on X-Men. You're like, this guy doesn't know how to be a professional. And it's like, the poor guy probably hasn't slept in a month. You know.
Yeah.
And but it is what it is. You know, that's the game, right? So I just wish there's money in it still. That's the missing element.
What do you think is the possibility of making it then? I mean, because you say they don't care. Do you think it's a possibility to make it to where the public would be more inclined? Because look, Let's be real
What do you
honest. Well, with as we stand, man, people don't read enough, right? And I think there's a lot of reasons people would say they don't read, they don't have time, they don't have this, they don't have blah, blah, blah. Well, part of me wants to be like, oh, well, okay, then here, look, you see this graphic novel? Okay, well, actually, first I'd be like, well, what are you into? And then they tell me, and I'd be like, okay, you see this graphic novel? And I'd end up like, it would depend upon what they told me, what I'd be like, yeah. You know what I mean? All right. I was like, you can read this. It won't take you so long. It'll, you can read your brain. You can read, right? Like it is a book. It just has pictures, right? It's okay. If you don't have time to read a book, that's fine. Read this, right? Just so people read, like just, because it is a simpler content in that. So as far as it doesn't take as much imagination, and maybe that's the problem. Maybe people have lost imagination. I don't know.
Well, you have two excellent points there. First of all, I do want to say I worked for a literacy foundation that we went into prisons and helped prisoners read and draw, and we did it through drawing comic books so they could read and write. And two, first, a quick dovetail or tangent rather of a stat that I learned: the average American adult reads 1.5 books in their lifetime. Think about that. So now let's go back to what you were saying. Just let that sink in. Their entire effing life. So that's from the day high school graduation, 1.5 books their whole life. That's the average American. So, anyways,
well, real quick,
point that sorry.
No, I just got to say that at least I got my neighbor to read The Last Ronin,
You already ruined, you effed up the curve, dude. But, to your point, I think the most potent form of communication is words on pictures. You can find that as far back as history goes, and when we're dust in the wind, there's going to be words on pictures, I promise you. So, to your point, I think people that have trouble reading or don't have discipline or just never been exposed to how wonderful it is to read a good book and how it expands your mind and you become a better person in so many ways, from patience to discipline to understanding, more intellect, blah, blah, blah. So I think actually comic books are an amazing bridge to get people to read and imagine. They lit my life up as a lonely kid living on military bases, and I think there's a million situations where people, it could do the same, of all ages of childhood, all the way into adulthood. You should make every adult read Mouse. There's all sorts of things. And that's a cartoon, as somebody called it, a cartoon strip book. And it's, try reading that and not having your heart just feel heavy you're a different person when you're done reading that. My Lord, so it's whether it's a potent comic book, I guess, or something fun that got me really into reading comic books was X-Men 259, where Wolverine's being crucified. I remember seeing that in a bookstore, and I just stopped, and I suddenly was buying comic books again. And that bridged me into a million other avenues of creativity. Just that one comic book, Mark Silvestri drawing that wicked-ass cover of Wolverine and the Skulls. So I don't know. I think if comic books could be, because when I do, like, if you ever do anything with kids at a library or something, I bring like my Justice League Unlimited comics I did for a long time, where I'm drawing like Bruce Timm and stuff. Every single kid is devouring them, boys and girls. So it's not, I think a lot of it's a dissemination and when to give it to them and blah, blah, blah. But I think comic books are an amazing bridge from kids to adults into reading and creativity. Because who didn't read their favorite comic book as a kid and read Savage Sword of Conan, and you weren't drawing Conan literally the second after you were done reading it?
All I know is Zach, look, in everything you've just said, I figured out how to really sell comic books to the general public. Right? Look, here's what it is, right? It's just a bunch of memes that tell a story. And it's just a bunch of memes that you're reading in a story. That's all it is. It's memes. It's just a bunch of freaking memes. Right? That's all it is. Because, you know, technically, if you really think about it,
it is kind of a series of memes, you know, sequential memes. So that's what sequential art is. So, yeah, I don't think also on fentanyl, and that'd probably get Americans to bring them. So
I've got a stat for you that I came across years and years and years ago, was that the kids with the largest vocabulary in grade 3 were all comic book readers. I don't know if that still stands, but
very interesting.
Decades ago, it did.
They probably devour more content, though, you know? So instead of making a kid sit down there with War and Peace trying to get through it, they're looking at pictures, but they're reading and they're engaging and they're putting this character's emotion and action with this character, what they said, and that builds neurons. And then, you know, I think you can build some momentum with that. So that would make sense. I think you're engaging those brain cells a little bit more.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, look, that's why when I said when I was 32, when I started doing music, I had a quicker vocabulary because I'd read so much comics. And I'll quote it even more now. If you listen to Eminem's new album, I don't know if either of you have, but
I've heard it's great. I have not.
Yeah, he literally says, at the core, I was a comic nerd. Like he literally, I was just trying to read comics to learn more words. I can't remember exactly what the line was, but I mean, literally, it was him saying, you know, I read comics to learn more words, so I could have more words when I rap. So I mean, clearly, I think it's funny people don't understand how much comics have influenced hip hop at that level. Like, because I guarantee, I mean, look at the Wu-Tang Clan. It's quite amazing. It's obviously something that causes an extensive vocabulary.
Yeah, Ghostface and RZA.
Yeah.
Hell, DMC. I was signing in New York Comic Con one year, like 2 booths away from him. He had his own book, and it was so cool, you know. You know, but I've also signed with the Brady Bunch kids, so there you go. I don't know what's so
interesting.
This job takes you in some weird places. So I don't know, man. It's weird where comic books are, what they're capable of, and it's who knows what it's gonna be. What the portal's going to be, but comic books are always going to be there. Eventually, everything's going to be digital and this and interactive, and comic books going to be something like a niche coffee table thing that you have, and there's my fancy comic book. But even if it goes full digital, it's still going to be comic books. However we do it, it's going to be words on pictures. It'll always be there, and I think it's the easiest form of, and easiest and most potent way to commucode a story. I think you can really get lost in words and pictures.
Can I just say that? Yeah, like the whole purely digital thing, I hate. Like I hate. Look, I enjoyed your comic. I hated the way that I read it on my phone. All right, and I've told this to. I don't take out first.
Brother.
I've told this to so many creators. Like just reading a comic on my phone. I don't throw my phone. I don't get in the mood to where I want to throw my phone. I don't. I just don't.
Well,
like you know. But when I'm reading a comic on my phone, I want to throw my phone. Okay, that's the only time, Zach. I'm like,
but soon we're gonna have fold-out screens,
look,
and
no, the only way
our brains are gonna be jacked into whatever. But
no. The only way I'm cool with it. Is if you just give me a thing that just like projects it off my wrist and it's like, here's the full page, and it's just it looks as clear as it would if I had it in front of me.
Does it have to be your wrist? Could it be like maybe your belly button could project from there?
We're not going belly button. That's a little like I don't know, because then I have to expose my belly button to read a comic book. Are you serious?
Yeah, set it up to
like I don't want to have to like I gotta sit like this just to read a book. Like, no.
We'll work it out. We'll have the engineers work it out. But my point, I'm a tactile guy. I still ink by hand, you guys. So I mean, it's just I'm a very tactile guy. I was a sculptor. That's what I have degrees in. I like being dirty. I like having some semblance of a finished piece of artwork when I'm done making my comic book and things like that. I like selling artwork. I like getting the book. I like many people, Lovern, everybody probably is, when you open the new book and you get the smell and it's like, and it's in your hand, it's tactile, you can feel it.
Yeah.
And there's all that work and you see those pages, there's the odd and even pages together. That's what they look like at this size together. The print came out well. And then you see fans have it and you're signing it and they blah, blah, blah. There's a beautiful sensation with tactile everything and the collectorism that goes with it as you have your awesome setup behind you. So that cannot be replaced, but you can't look at it as a competition. What it is it's a new portal for reading what you love because the world's transitioning to fully digital. There'll always be print, but there's not going to be a lot. There's going to be fewer people that can make a living at it. Right now, I have a person that told me when I quit Batman, a person, and I won't say who, that worked with me there, told me my career was over because I was quitting Batman. I was very unhappy for multiple reasons that were all my own. But then the next book I did was Shaun of the Dead, and that was in print for 14 years. So it's more, as long as you apply yourself, you're going to find a way to express yourself. Blah, blah, blah. I don't know where I got off the rails here, but circling back to digital medium, you got to some way. Now we're in the wild west of learning to put things digitally and so fans can consume them. It's very early. Think about somebody's going to come out with the Model T Ford of digital comic books. It just hasn't happened yet. Digital comic books are just these clunky little stinky cars going down the road, running down horses and kids because nobody knows how to use them yet or what they're capable. They're not versus what we have now with cars that drive themselves. It's a whole different portal. It's a whole different user experience between then and now, and the world's only accelerating. So I bet in 5-10 years, there's going to be fully immersive 3D comic books. No lie. I talk to developers doing the damn stuff. So, there's going to be a lot of portals and you're going to have lots of options from a floppy that's probably going to cost more than the damn digital version. And
Okay. If it's fully 3D and immersive, is it still a comic? What makes it a comic?
Yeah, I say words on pictures. To me, that goes back to what a comic is words on pictures. So,
yeah,
now that's a great question because things are going to get murky. I worked with the artist Common, the musician and rapper and blah, blah, blah. And I ran his first comic book for Webtoons when Webtoons was trying to first break into America. And we had this nutty budget, just absolutely nutty budget because Common was involved. Webtoons, Korea had like $500 million cash, and they're investing all this money for an American launch. We got Robert Glasper, the 2-time Grammy winner, and he did music. So while you're reading the Webtoons comic on your phone and you're scrolling, musical cues would come in. And now they're getting to the point where voices and stuff can happen where you can and eventually it's going to be acted out. And at that point, to your point, is that still a comic book?
It sounds like an MMO to me.
Well, isn't that a video game?
Well, yeah.
Well, no, he means if it's immersive, it would be. And I get that. Like if it was completely immersive 3D.
I'm seeing you're scrolling on your phone and like we were getting to the point where there's some minor motion. There's musical cues, so the music changes as you're going through different scenes and scrolling on your phone. It was really cool to be part of, but at some point I'm like, well, this isn't what I personally don't enjoy making. I like sitting at my drawing table and having permanent ink all over my hands, when I go up for the night. And
yeah, because I think when you're doing something like that, I'm gonna get. Fortunately, nobody writes to me, so I'm okay. I can say whatever I like. Nobody attacks me on social media, etc. I'm bulletproof. So it seems to me that they're not creating; they're just building.
Yeah, that's what I mean by like a factory. They're like craftsmen, not artists.
Yeah. So when you do a cover and you want to do a cover of I don't know, somebody finding somebody in they walk into a busted cathedral and the moonlight's coming through there and they see somebody. Well, if you just build the cathedral and stick the guy where you want him to, and that it's not the same as when you go through the process, wherever your brain goes to, when you see that image in your head and then you start working it up and your hand tells you, I know what your head said, but this is what I can do.
Yeah.
And then you have your hand, because I always go back when I think about art, I think about an artist, a great artist I knew, telling me that if he had had a choice, he would have never drawn the way that he draws, but it's what his hand wanted to do.
That's interesting you say that. That's a wonderful quote, because like you see my stuff now, it's Lovern, you worked with me kind of like when I was about halfway developing and learning to be a pro. I was pretty good then and getting jobs, but I'm nothing. I'm a fraction shadow of what I am now. But
no, it was great when stuff like that comes across my desk. I look at it and go, okay, I can just color this. I'm not doing the work that this guy isn't doing, because he's done the work. I don't have to create depth. I don't have to make sure that we can see who the main character is, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just,
it was fun. Yeah, we had some guys changing styles on the Hulk, because the guy with different people are telling different stories about the Hulk. So we did like 4 or 5 different artist styles. It was a lot of fun, that project. But like now though, I'm known for like when Mignola hired me, he let me know, look, I want you to do what you do, your trees. I'm like, so I just came off of my Joe Hill project where that's like ruled my life for 2 years. And then I was right back into trees. And of course, now I'm doing Moonshine Bigfoot taking place in trees. So it's like, but like my style's gotten so complicated and I've gotten good at balancing it. Like I've worked it out and it works. But the problem is, like, I'm OCD and I have ADHD, and it's created this crazy style. And I think with sculpting and stuff, I see 3D pretty well, and I have pretty good staging, and I'm good with camera work, blah, blah, blah. I've gotten pretty decent at drawing comic books and just drawing and inking, but my mind sees so much now. I feel like I have too much information that my OCD wants to draw everything. So then I'm like, well, I can't put everything in there, but I want to put the maximum amount. And I'm competitive. All these problems come out in me. And so I've become, and like even when I get hired, people want this kind of pedantic style that I have now, but it's grueling. It's grueling. But so I'm like, just real quick, I'll put a bow on it. I've become a prisoner of my own style. I want to like throttle back. It's like I had to like have the gas down to get to be a professional and make a living and pay your mortgage and blah, blah, blah. But now I don't know how to take the gas off. It's like stuck, the pedal. And I
know what you mean. I never wanted to be a colorist.
Oh, yeah?
I was working on being an inker. I was working in a studio where I was starting as a studio monkey, and so I was going in and filling in blacks and doing some backgrounds and stuff like that you want your assistant to work on and that. And I worked up some stuff in that, and I thought I'm going to take this full year and I'm going to work on my brush technique. And so I did that for a year, and I was lucky. I got Xeroxes of pages by everybody from Garcia Lopez to John Byrne and I was inking that just on sheets of vellum over top of the pencils just to work on that line.
Yeah.
And when I went to San Diego with my portfolio of stuff, and people looked at it, they were like, I remember a DC editor looked at that and he called over 2 other DC editors, and they looked at it and they said, "You ink like Joe Kubert." And my head just about exploded. And then they said, "You're never going to get any work." Yeah. They said, "You ink like Joe Kubert, you're never going to get any work, because why would we hire you when we could just hire Joe Kubert?"
Oh, interesting.
And they looked at some of the other stuff and they said, "Oh, wait a minute, what's this?" And they saw the blue line paintings that I did, and they said, "Well, you're a colorist." And I said, "No, that's some of the work I was doing. Yes, I can do that." And they were like, "Boom, no, you're a colorist. We're going to give you a tryout book." Did a Batman Clayface story with that Alan Moore wrote for an annual.
Awesome.
They saw that. I got 4 books to color after that.
0 to 150.
Yeah, nobody's offered me inks since then.
Well, are you looking? Would you ever get into inking again, or are you just gonna paint now?
I did. When people do commissions, they'll ask me stuff. I'm doing a bunch of illustrations for myself, where I'm doing a Edgar Allan Poe story, and I'm worked up stuff, and I'm making that. And I occasionally get commissions. Somebody will see me at a convention, and once in every 100 conventions, somebody will say, "Oh, could you do me this?"
Yeah.
I think the last thing I did was a portrait of Neil Gaiman on a blank cover. And but like, it's invisible. It goes out there. I'm sure that Jay hasn't seen it, or you haven't seen it at all, but it's out there on social media somewhere. I think there's at least 3 people that know I did it.
3. Well, I'll verify it. I'll find 2 of the 3. And,
I'm not on social media enough, so yeah, yeah.
Well, you're not going to be getting too many Neil Gaiman commissions anymore, buddy. So don't worry.
Yeah, I just heard. I'm actually working on a Gaiman story right now.
Let's hope.
Or Dark Horse.
Hopefully, all is going to be okay. Nobody got hurt. But let's move on.
Wait. No, what?
Just read social media. Type in Neil Gaiman. There's some stuff going on right now. Let's just move on.
Okay.
Yes, we'll see how
nobody knows what actually happened. Right
okay, fair enough. We're just gonna gloss over that because I have no idea.
It's probably best.
Absolutely no idea.
Move on to your turn.
So I'm curious.
Yeah.
So I'm curious.
I'm doing an amazing Gaiman project. It's Craig Russell.
Awesome! Holy crap!
Craig's doing the definitive Only the End of the World Again.
Oh, wow, dude! Well, congrats. That's a hell of a job, man.
Oh yeah, it's crazy to work on. I'm loving it.
It's one of the greatest. Speaking of inkers, there's one of the best that ever was, right?
Yeah, still is.
Every once in a while, he'll comment on my stuff, and I feel like my feet don't touch the ground. That guy's so good.
I can imagine.
Isn't it interesting? Like when you're a kid on the other side and blah blah blah, and you read a Mignola comic book. Cut to him calling you, asking you to do a sequel because Corbin's too sick, and you got to to follow Corbin's shoes. And I was very happy, honored with what I did. I pulled out my best work, and I was very happy. But just to stand, you're suddenly standing in the shadow of Richard Corbin and Mike Mignola, and they're like telling you their daily problems, and you're like, holy shit, how did I get here? You know?
I know what you mean. It's like the second, I think it was the second San Diego con I went to, I met Jack Kirby. He walked up to me and I went to shake his hand, and he just threw his arm around my neck and he got me in a headlock.
Awesome.
And he gave me a noogie. And he had mistaken me for a guy who looked very much like me. That he had met. Fortunately, that guy and myself were both martial artists, and I ended up, and I'm sitting there talking with Jack Kirby while his wife was waiting for us, and we're talking about martial arts and comic books. It was like, how in hell did I get here?
Yeah.
Can I say, if it slips out, just let it go, because, like, I'm not going back and editing it out. You have any idea how much, like, I already got enough to edit. If the word comes out, the word comes out. We just try and keep it PG over here. I do better than anyone else, which, if you look at season 1, is freaking hilarious. That's all I'm gonna say. Like, the fact that I'm the one that's best at it is the funniest thing I think about this show in season 2, period. Though so much has been. Especially, yeah, I love that story, Lovern. I really.
Hey, I'm sure Zach has got stories about finding himself at closing up the bar or the lounge at the hotel and sitting with like 4 people that he never dreamed he'd be sitting beside having a drink with.
Oh, there's stories. Probably the wildest one that I could not believe I was there. This was, holy cow, early on, prior to Batman, or right, it was a little bit before I got Batman. So before I like made the jump to DC, I was doing like a few small image books and things like that. But I had a good friend from England named Woodrow Phoenix, big cartoonist in London. You'll even see him in like Campbell books, the guy that did From Hell and stuff like. Anyways, who cares?
Yeah.
Anyways, we'd never met before, so I was in San Diego. We met up near the end of the show after I'd, walked around trying to get real jobs rather than the stuff. And he's like, dude, you should come out to dinner with me tonight. And I'm like, well, okay. And I was so poor back then. I had $6 and it had to last me 2 days. Yeah. And I was like, shit. Okay. I was like, okay, he's like, dude, you're coming out to dinner. You have to come out to dinner. I'm like, man, okay, I'll come out to dinner with you. So we show up and we meet up, and who he's meeting up with is his German designer friend that's eating dinner with Bruce Timm, Glenn, I cannot remember Glenn's last, the 3 creators of the original Batman animated series. And we go to dinner at like this wharf, like it's like Michelin chef, and we're out on the wharf, and I'm sitting there with $6, and everybody's talking. I'm just trying not to, poop myself. It just profusely, wildly from side to side, and I'm enjoying it. I'm actually getting them laughing and stuff like that. Just nervous. I'm just riding the wave, and then I see the waiter, and I like, because I saw the menu, and I was like,
wait, I want to know. Could you get a water? Could you afford a water?
They brought out waters, the lemon waters, all hoity-toity, and I'm like eating breadsticks, just like, like Pac-Man eats little white dots, and I'm just shoving them in my face. And it was like the first time I'd eaten that day, I think, too. So I see the waiter like doing something, filling waters, or and I walk up to him and I tell him my plight. It's like, I have $6. Is there anything you can bring me to eat? And they brought me a salad, which was nice. But eventually, everybody at the table found out I was like the junior schlub artist. and how poor I was, and everybody's laughing and stuff. And they found out I'd never had a creme brulee before, so Bruce Timm bought me my first creme brulee, and that was the wildest. I think I put the picture on my Facebook profile just because it was. I don't share many things like that in my life publicly, but that one was quite. I remember calling it was before I had a cell phone. I remember having a hotel, those phone cards, and you using the hotel phone, and calling my wife like, "Holy shit! I just had dinner with Bruce Timm," and he was just the nicest guy. So nice to me. I was absolutely effing nobody, and he was super nice. So I made him snort a few times, and I think sometimes, I'll tell you what, making people laugh has gotten me farther in my career than anything else. When I'm at a table, I make damn near everybody that comes up to my table laugh. I make editors laugh. You know, Mike Mignola's a tough guy to crack, but I can make most people laugh. And I think if you're affable in a genuine way, most people want to work with you, and they remember that.
Let's go into a couple things then, man. Because in all honesty, this has been a great discussion, Zach, and it's already been all over the place. But one thing we haven't got really in much to is your work, man. So I'm curious. I want to do a couple of things because looking at your past work, you've done a lot, right? Right, and you've done a lot within a lot of different things. But I see you've worked on a lot of properties. You know what I mean? IPs that are outside of comic books that became comic books at a later time. Like Shaun of the Dead is a perfect example of that. Which, in hearing like that, came out at the point where comics were off my radar for like a couple years, and like I'm really upset I missed that. To be real honest, I really am.
Okay.
No, whatever. I don't care what your thought of it is. I'm telling you, it hurts me. Like I love Shaun of the Dead, the movie. I want to like you can have whatever opinion of the fact. It hurts my feelings, man. I don't care what your opinion of it is.
Got it.
Zach, as far as that, I'm saying like I would have loved to have read that as a comic book fan and a fan that like dude. I love zombies. I love the whole ideology of them from when they were initially created by George Romero and what they actually stand behind and all of that. But that's not my question. My question is, man, out of the properties you've worked with and the things that you see within comics, is there another property out there that is either not been done in comics or is something that you just haven't gotten your hands on that's been done, but it's not a comic norm. You know what I mean? Something that didn't start there.
I can answer that, actually. And unfortunately, it's recently been done in kind of like a quiet children's book version of it. So it's kind of off my bucket list. But my all-time favorite book ever is Watership Down. And I tried Chris Ryle at IDW when I was red hot at IDW and they're willing to do stuff for me. They tried to get the IP, but it was tied up with, like, at that time, Netflix was making some terrible animated show about it. And then we tried to get it again, and then somebody was making a graphic novel about it. And it's pretty and stuff, but Nelson Daniel and I doing Watership Down, like a 6-issue Watership Down, spend like 2 years just drawing the living shit out of it, make it European style. I think I could make something that would be my number one thing that isn't a comic book that I think if I brought to life as a comic book, I'd light shit on fire.
You had a real specific, quick answer, Zach. I didn't expect that. I'll be real honest.
It's because it's been I tried for years to get it. Tried for years. Who knows?
Like,
maybe when they put my brain in a jar, when it becomes free, free use, my brain in a jar can draw it.
Your brain in a jar that's running the robot that your body is in, that's your body now currently. Yeah,
yes,
I don't want
robot fingers that can draw well. Don't be foolish.
Well, if you think about it at that point, wouldn't the body be able to replicate exactly what was into the brain because it wasn't limited by the human or it didn't have the human limitations. So technically maybe if your brain was in a robot body, you might be able to draw better. I'm not promoting everyone putting their brains in robot bodies. I'm just saying.
No, I'm nostalgic and I prefer a brain in a jar. Just the aesthetic alone feels good and antiquated, and I want people to know who I am.
So you're a Futurama fan.
Oh, there we go. Yes,
All right.
absolutely. That's my
We did
favorite
it.
cartoon
We did
of all
again.
time.
If you like Futurama, we just had John Delaney on and had a great
Yeah,
conversation
you
with
said
him.
that.
Yeah, I just had to bring it up again if we're gonna bring up Futurama because the heads in the jar is definitely something that came up, man. Because yeah, like I don't think I'd want to be a brain in a jar. Like that's
Well, I don't know. That probably would be pretty terrible, especially in Futurama
don't-
style where crap fell in the top of it. But
Yeah.
Delaney, yeah, he's pretty great. My buddy got a birthday. Well, I forgot what they're called. Where you can hire the celebrities to give birthday greetings or whatever. Cameo. There you go.
yeah. There you go.
And he did a funny one for me. It was pretty good. He does a Futurama one every year. So, and they all make fun of my friend's name. They don't even get to my birthday wish because Anthony DeGello Nardo, and it's spelled all funny in Italian. So they're like, "Hey, your friend Zach, your friend Anthony DeGello." What the fuck? It's just DeGello, and it's just 30 seconds of them making fun of him like almost every time. So it's pretty funny to get those. So yeah, the Futurama people are funny people, man.
Oh yeah. So back into what you're doing. Then I'm curious.
Yes,
Right.
sir.
So the other thing that I want to know your opinion of, man, is because we've had a great discussion about the big two and creator owned and all of that, and how you have to work as a creator within those two. What do you think the importance is of being able to get to one of those big two, to perhaps get it to where your name is more out there, so it makes it more viable when you launch your own IP?
Well, I think it's probably the smartest thing you can do. Say like, I had a since very famous friend from back in the day when he was just starting to pop off. I was first more popular than him, or at least got way more steady work at least. And when he was starting to pop off, he was thinking about his next creator-owned project while he was doing really hot at DC, and he used to just tell me, Zach, because I would turn down when I got like the X-Men offer or something like that. I'm just like, I'm not built like that, man. I'm not against drawing Wolverine or Cyclops being sad or whatever they do in X-Men, but I can't. Like, I think I told the last time I got offered like Green Lantern, and I'm like, I don't know anything about Green Lantern. I don't care. I honestly don't care about Green Lantern. So I know I'd be like middle of issue 2 and wanting to put a gun in my mouth. So this is my caveat. This is why you see me. Zach has worked for every company and drawn damn near every. I've even done Aquaman for F's sake. I've done everybody, which Lovern probably has too. But it's just we get around, and a lot of it's just because I have to stem off boredom. I can't draw Batman 15 issues. I can't draw him 5 issues. I get so bored. It just tears me apart how bored I get. Because it's not a challenge at that point. It's just kind of trying to stay sane while you're drawing the same stuff again and again and again and again. And I figured it out fairly early on that I'm not built like that. I tried several times to be that type of artist, thinking that's what you had to do. And I had the opportunity. I was very fortunate that people put me in a position where I could draw detective comic books and things like that. Even Lovern, when I was working with you, Marvel was trying to get me to be like a regular Spider-Man artist. And I'm like, why don't I just do one really good Spider-Man book rather than 10 shitty ones? Yeah. And that's the problem I have with American comic books in general is where we make fast food. And I feel like I'm not trying to boast, but to complete the analogy, I feel like a Michelin chef in a fast food restaurant. So here I can make a five-star, 15-course meal that will change your life, and they want me to draw Cyclops being sad. And I'm like, I can't emotionally do that. And it literally has made me suicidal at times while I've had.
I can believe that.
And so I've had to balance. I'd rather do a Venom cover, which is fun every once in a while to do things like that, or one shot, or a short story. And that keeps me alive and pays some bills while I can do my own stuff. Now that's just me because I'm a really serious, crappy artist that can't just let go for a couple of years to build his fan base. I think it's more, I just can't do it. I'd rather follow my dreams. And I'm getting enough momentum to where I can make my own things, and publishers want to publish them without any effort from me because they know I bring a certain quality on every property. If my name's on it, I'm going to bring something. Now, that doesn't equal fandom. What does equal fandom is if Zach wasn't stupid and too serious when he was offered X-Men, drew X-Men for 5-6 issues, got another 80,000 people involved in my career, and then went and did a Kickstarter, there'd be an extra 0 after that number, after my Kickstarter. So business-wise, business Zach is terrible, because that's the smart thing to do. Artist Zach is going to die unknown because I only care about one thing, and that's I got about 50 stories in me that need to get out, and I only have time to do about 5 of them before they throw dirt on me.
Okay, now, firstly, what you just said, I don't think is something that you can know in any way, shape, or form, because I think,
Okay, so thanks for asking me in
sincerely,
advance.
man, like, look, I read, look, you've got Bigfoot Moonshine getting ready to drop, and it's dropping from Image, which, if anybody's going to tell me that's not the third biggest publisher, I'm going to be like, do you not know what Image is?
Well,
Do you
that's
not, like,
admittedly so too. So
like, yeah, like, do you not, like it's divided into, so, like, and what's came from Image that's been on film and TV, and, like, you know, The Walking Dead's a comic? No? Okay, I don't want to talk to you about comics anymore, man, but we can talk.
countless others right now. There's multiple that are in production right now that were Image books. So, you know. Anyways, you were asking, what am I supposed to not
But
know?
yeah, no, so I don't think that's the way to look at it, man. I think I don't see why you would look at it that way, especially looking with what you've done in Bigfoot Moonshine specifically. It's interesting the way you've written it. I think it could be taken by a lot of different people, a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
You know what I
Said it
mean?
here, so yeah.
And that's the thing, though. It's look, I'll Andy the Animal, man. I can't pronounce his last name either, Lovern, so I don't even try. Right? But Andy, he's a pro wrestler. He also does Mother Trucker, and Mother Trucker is satire. Like it's clearly satire. So is your book. But he said that he had friends that read the book and was like, "Oh, I love that book," and they completed the satire and went, "Phew," right, like right over the top.
Well, that's the beauty of art, though, because when Jimi Hendrix wrote a song, he wasn't worrying about how I would interpret it.
I see,
He
but
would
that's what
just,
I'm saying, though.
when you make the art, it's your job as the artist to make the art, and you
Fully.
put it out to the universe, and it's up to the universe is going to do whatever the universe does. People are going to interpret it. They come from different places. They're in a different mood when they're reading it. They have different intelligence. They had a different life. They had different goals. Everything. They just ate. They're hungry. There's a million different factors. It's an ocean of variables. So when they're looking at it, and it often is just people you never underestimate the power of stupid. Most
And then
are
look.
very stupid. And they just really are. So even if you're of average intelligence, half the world is more stupid than you. So when they're commenting on stuff, you got to realize there's some really dumb thoughts going on. So you can't always take This is why when people get really high on like, ooh, on this review, I got people said I was great, or they say, well, then this. It's nice to get good compliments, and some are very genuine and feel good. But it's the same thing as a bad comment. If somebody's like, "That's stupid," I saw a lady that was easily 400 pounds walk past me, or make it past me is a better way to say it. And when I was at C2E2 launching Moonshine Bigfoot, the Kickstarter, where tons of fans were doing really well, she walks by in a Pikachu outfit, morbidly obese, barely moving, and just shakes her head and goes, the Moonshine Bigfoot. To her, I was being ridiculous. To me, she was being a ridiculous human being. So it's just our perspectives, and then neither of them are valid. Neither of them matter. None of this matters. In the end, we're all going to be forgotten. So
Holy
we're
crap.
all going to be forgotten.
Holy crap.
So
Zach,
just
you took that so much deeper than I meant. Which I love, by the way. That went so much deeper than I was talking. Zach, you got no idea. I just mean that
satire's a tough thing
I love it.
because
I
to
love it.
understand
I
satire, you
love it.
gotta understand its source and or sources to some extent. To when there, you can interpret it in a funny, new way and understand both and appreciate both. That's why satire is really hard to do. Now, some people read or experience satire and that they thought hee haw was real, and it's not. And it's satire's a funny thing because you gotta both be in on the joke. And if people aren't, then they're just along for the ride because it's an adventure. But they'll never get the joke. You can't explain the joke to them. If you tried to, I'm gonna get bolder than I already am. So you just kind of let them enjoy it however they enjoy it. Oh, it has cool cars in it. Well, thanks, man. The girl has big boobs. Great. Oh, the bar scene, it's wild. Penguins are knife fighting. Great. I'm glad you enjoy it. Whatever you get out of it, I'm just glad you enjoy it. So that's the thing about, I seldom do comedies. I haven't done one since Sean Murphy and I did it Outer Orbit in like 2005. So I'm very proud I'm doing a comedy. But when you do a comedy, you got to understand, a lot of people have no sense of humor. Their sense of humor is just repeating something funny they saw on TV. That's literally all their humor. They don't make jokes. They don't take situations and make them funny. They don't play on words. Nothing is ever funny to them except, what Blue Collar Comedy Tour told them, and that's the world we're sharing. So you just make your art, and however people take satire, just know it's a difficult medium, and I think we did it successfully. And if people don't think so, whatever. I mean, if it doesn't sell as a comic book, as if we're trying to make it an animated television show, if it doesn't become that, whatever. That's just life. But damn it, I went down swinging.
No,
I wasn't drawing Nightwing anymore. I can tell you that.
You just took that so much, but I love where you took it because you're right on everything in so many aspects. But I think,
it's just my opinion,
but I mean, you are, because I think it's funny though, because as far as like the fact of satire and how it's not, how it goes right over a lot of people's heads. You know what I mean? And I think
it's just how life is. I bet you saw your Daredevil Wolverine movie. I bet there's jokes for everybody in there, from smart people to mouth-breathing knuckle draggers to where poop, yuck, yuck. And that's what you have to do when you make a $200, $300 million movie, whatever the hell that thing probably cost, And so you got to have things in there for dum-dums. You have to have things in there that are way smarter than me that I miss, because there's smart people out there. So it's just, but when you get to comedy, that's a fickle mistress, because everybody has a different understanding of what humor is.
there's a reason Andy Kaufman was in the position that he was in history.
There you go, Andy Kaufman, a irreverent absurdist, just plopped himself in the middle and while pissing on everything, watching it all burn. Comedy can be a lot of things, yeah, I don't know, man. All I know is this was itching a hole in me while I was working on I'm working on my opus called Dead Earth Pioneers with Mike Rach. We did Wild Blue Yonder together. But it's 450 pages, and it's dark, and it's good, but it's dark. So I was like 10 pages into it when Moonshine Bigfoot kind of started percolating out of a joke that me and my actor friend were joking about 2 a.m, driving through the mountains we're complaining about Hollywood, and that's how Moonshine Bigfoot came about. We're making fun of how Hollywood only remakes the same old crap. They just keep remaking Dukes of Hazzard 7. And I said, if you're going to remake Dukes of Hazzard, why don't you have Bigfoot driving the damn car? And that's how I think. I'm like, how do I make something new rather than how do I do the same thing how do I retread this tire so somebody gives me the same money and accolades that other person got? And all I can say is my spirits in this project, it wouldn't get out. I was 6 months, it wouldn't get out of my head. I chuckled every time I even heard the phrase Moonshine Bigfoot. And now I'm getting the final colors and letters in for the second issue. We're 60 pages in. It's phenomenal. I'm very happy, and we're going to blow people away with it. You've read nothing like it ever. I promise you.
This started because you and an actor friend of yours were having a conversation in your car at 2 a.m. in Hollywood.
No, this was actually in the mountains.
In the mountains. Okay, well, wherever, fair enough. And after 2 a.m. and Dukes of Hazzard 7, and this is how.
That was the genesis. I said, why don't you have Bigfoot driving the goddamn car if you're going to make Dukes of Hazzard 7? Make it interesting. Do something. Do something. My God, that's the problem with movies now. They all just try to do the same thing, but better. More edgy. My God, remember when we used to have fun at movies? You never heard of Indiana Jones before? What the hell am I going to see?
But then the internet came along, and by the time you get to see the movie, what everybody ate on the set for the last week of shooting.
Exactly.
And that, Zach, is why I had to reschedule this interview so I could see Deadpool versus Wolverine opening night because I hadn't been to the flicks for a while, like out to film like that. But I love Deadpool, and and with the community that I am within running this show, I'm like, if I don't go see this, there's no way in hell. There's no I'm gonna get something spoiled. Something's gonna get spoiled. So no, I'm gonna go to the theater.
No, I get the position you're saying, but this is
just
what
annoyed the crap
I
out of
don't
me.
care about that stuff.
Yeah.
But I appreciate your position. If somebody ruined Deadpool for me, I would forget it 3 minutes later, so it wouldn't even matter by the time I watched it what anybody told me. You're in a radically different position, though. You got to disseminate information. You got to debate it. You got to critique it. Blah blah blah. I'm just a weird dude that likes running in the mountains with his dogs. I just happen to draw comic books, so it's much different for me. What I would say about as far as the creator's position, because of the internet, to Lovern's point, we know that vampire exists. You live with that monster. You can't fight that monster, so you just learn to live with it. Okay, so people are gonna give spoilers. They're gonna be talking about all the background superfluous BS that doesn't matter. These two actors hate each other, and this editor, blah blah blah. Who cares? Whatever. This producer bangs chicks on the side, and blah blah blah. You're gonna get that. I would say the only thing a creator and artist can ever do to overcome that is to make art so good it transcends it. So through time, it no longer matters. We still want to watch Indiana Jones, blah blah blah, or pick whatever that's gonna last till whenever humans run out of gas.
You're talking about something that I remember being taught when I was working on my fine arts degree, and it's called the artist's coefficient.
Yes.
And it's what happens between the viewer and the art. And you as an artist have absolutely no control over that whatsoever. What happens between the person looking at your art and them, that's their thing. So the artist coefficient is what happens between them and your art. And you, no matter what you did it for, how you did it, it doesn't matter. It's when they look at it, what they see and feel.
Yeah, and that's the reality, and that's why you got to come to terms with that. You got to create, when you're done creating it, I don't even feel like it's my art anymore. I kind of release it into the universe. And I might be a little too...
So wait, you're not gonna pull George Lucas and be like, look, you can't get that edition anymore. You can only get the super special edition with added pages now.
I'm going to ask him how much money he'd give me to do a Jar Jar Binks comic. I mean, like a really good one. Just like draw it like Barry Windsor Smith style. Just like go Mobius Blueberry style on Jar Jar Binks.
All right, well, real quick, if we're gonna talk
give
movies,
me some of them billions.
if we're gonna talk movies and billions, I want to know, well, why is it? Do you think that James Gunn's movies are the worst? Like, really, like.
Well, I'm gonna stay off of that because he, I think, is a fan of one of my properties. So it got a little murky with the cape in one of the movies he made. So I'm just gonna back off. But I will say this: I have seen the most recent. While I was on a plane, I watched, what's the third movie of the Rocky Raccoon or
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Guardians of the Galaxy. There we go. Not the Beatles song. I'll tell you what, that was one of the most convoluted POSs I've ever seen. Had like 3 stories in it that he wanted to tell. Like, and then it even has the scene where the character almost dies and the person they love, they meet at the gates of heaven. No, it's not your time. Go back. I was like, I was so, I'm trying to get a budget for a movie right now. And I'm asking, I don't know, 1/8 of what he needs to make nuclear dumpster fire of a movie. The second Guardians of the Galaxy, why don't you use every color? When that final battle scene, use every color at all times. Yeah, please. So I have no idea I'm a professional storyteller, and I'm not the greatest one, but I look at people like James Gunn. Every joke is like, that's what she said. It's like, it's that level of humor. It's like lowest hanging fruit. Like the first joke a 13-year-old thinks of. And every script, the only reason it's watchable is because the actors are brilliant in them. They're absolutely brilliant in them.
There is so much dreck out there that is being sold so hard by so many great actors.
They're phenomenal actors.
It's
they're brilliant. I mean, they're handed a handful of nothing, and they're acting their butts off.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, what you could make with this budget, you could make something Casablanca meets sci-fi. You could make things that change the world. And what do we make? Groot, making Groot joke. It's the same thing again and again. And that's the problem with comics. Oh, you like Iron Man the movie? That first Iron Man movie was excellent. Well done. It was a character-driven piece. The suit of armor almost didn't matter. It was him. It was his journey.
Zach. When I wrote a script, I was working on a script for well-known producers in Hollywood some time ago. And when I sent in the first draft, I got a phone call and I got a lecture. And the lecture was that I need to stop showing everybody how smart I was, and that I had to think about writing it so that the drunkest hillbilly in I forget what state he said, watching this on a who staggered into a movie theater on Saturday night gets it.
Yeah, they can
That's
still.
what they told me.
Welcome to commercial art. Remember what I said?
Yeah.
My editor told me. He's like, you gotta. My second editor at DC became friends with him. That's what he said. He's like, this is commercial art. You are being an artist. You got to learn to be a commercial artist. And what you had to do right there, you got to somehow make art within this portal. This is the corral that you got to work within. Doesn't matter how big or small it is, you got to make your art within it. And sorry.
I have to ask then, Zach, do you think the same thing stands for writers?
Yeah, that's a lot of overlap. The Venn diagram is there. They have their own battles to deal with, their own struggles with getting people to read their scripts. One thing, like, artists have an advantage. People know I can just go like this, in like a tenth of a second whether or not you like my art. You if you like a picture pretty damn quick. You could be John Milius, with Godfather script in your hand. You got to get somebody to read the damn thing that matters.
Yeah.
Not only read it, they got to matter. And so they have a different obstacle to get over. In comic books, it's a little weirder, murkier, and sometimes, I don't know.
How did what did your pitch for Moonshine? What was that like? Was it drawn out? Like, because I heard somebody recently saying that the way he pitched his graphic novel was he did the damn graphic novel.
That's the number one way.
Put that around.
I'm in a fortunate position. I've done enough books where I've made some money for some people to where I just literally had a one-pager and the concept art for the main character, Moonshine. That's it. One drawing, and I sent it in, and they said, when can you have it done? So, but again, I was very fortunate. I didn't have to try. It's one thing about this industry. I'm not famous, but I get to leapfrog damn near everything because I've made so many people money, and my ex-inker runs this company. My ex-editor for Death of Wolverine covers runs that company, and good friends with Chris Ryle. Eric Stevenson was my first editor at Image, and now he runs the damn show. So I haven't done a lot of things I'd say necessarily smart my career, but one thing I have done is I built endearing relationships. And I'd say, you want to make it in life, work really hard in whatever you're doing, even if you're unhappy, and try and be as genuine and kind to people as you can along the way. And we all can't. We're artists. I get pissed off. I've had temper issues at times. I was younger, processing things and struggling with bills and stressed and haven't slept 2 days and say the wrong things at the wrong time. However, if you're a good person and you work hard, people remember that. And then if you can get good on top of that, which that's up to everybody's individual journey and how they express it and what their abilities, goals, blah, 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 all the things that make, style and success, whatever that formula is. That's what you do. I sold my entertainment company, and I have no contact. I had no more, CSA, Hollywood agency or anything like that, but I still made a lot of people happy. So I can just call showrunner X up and say, hey, I got this Moonshine thing that I'm working on. Would you just look at it for me? And then they're going to show it to, I can't say who, but then that's the literally partnership with the executive of a major production company. So that's how you do it. That Chase drawn Baby Yoda and his new Deadpool movie. I'm going to draw the most famous fan art out there right now. okay, I mean, whatever makes you happy, but I will never consider that art in the sense of a creator. You're just making, I know this is PG, but Gadzooks, by the way. I know this is PG, but I always say,
wait, hold on. This episode has been PG. What
well,
are you
then
talking about,
I'll
Zach?
just say it. This is the problem I have with people doing a lot of fan art and chasing fandom. To me, I equate it with masturbating. You just kind of get addicted to it and you get that gratification. All you're doing is masturbating. You're not creating anything. You're not, and I'm not trying to make a political or religious point. What I'm trying to say is it's not the real thing. You're not working towards something lasting that you're truly going to enjoy and other people are going to enjoy. You're just kind of pleasing yourself and you're not getting anywhere with it. And that's what I mean by you're masturbating, doing that instead of creating. Yeah, that's what I'd say. Start creating. Stop worrying about how many fans you have. You don't have to have 1 million fans to be successful. So I know people that make films that have like 200 people on Instagram following them. And they're geniuses and people love their work and they have no clue who they are.
Yeah.
Because they're a showrunner on X or something like that. That it doesn't matter. It does. I watch. As I brought up my studio mate, my former assistant, she has 130,000 people. She's following her. She's just now getting to the point where she can pay her bills with art, and that's after 8 years of having all these fans and stuff like that. So,
It's
it
nice
doesn't
that
matter.
it's nice to have a lot of people following you on social media, but if they won't buy your comic, then what the hell?
Your art. I got a commission list years long, and I want to make people happy, but I'm making my own shit right now, and I only work that in when I can, and I do get it done. And that was a commission, and I'll curl your toes, but you're gonna have to wait because I'm still trying to make myself happy as a creator, and I will work it in, but it's not my priority. Make your priorities your goal in life, and the only way to do that is to get quiet and you ask yourself, if money weren't an object, what would I do with my time? And if whatever that is what you should be doing. And you can make a living at it. And if that's drawing Batman, then fuck, go draw Batman. But if you got something else in your head, like I got, whatever your version of Moonshine Bigfoot is, or Hellboy. Hellboy was just a weird thought that Mignola had on a sketch at a con for a stupid con booklet. And look what it became. You don't know what we're going to create, where magic lies. But if you aren't there to create the magic, when the serendipity strikes, what are you doing it for? Again, the sun's going to explode. Create something that matters, and then before they throw dirt on you. Otherwise, we're all just masturbating.
Okay, well, so with all that said, Zach, I do assume you mean Dredd and not Judge Dredd when you say that, right?
Sure, I did Dredd too, though. Judge Dredd. It's one of my most stolen pieces of artwork. Those cover runs.
Wait, no. I mean, when you say the favorite film or TV show based on a comic, you put Judge Dredd. You mean Dredd, right?
No, Dredd, the movie. If I spoke that Dredd, yeah. My artwork. I think my cover's in the back of that DVD too. So Chris Rao's talking about it in the history of the comic. They used my artwork. That was pretty cool.
Nice.
I think there's a far better Scarzia and stuff like that did a absolutely unbelievable, amazing runs, but it's just fun. It's fun to stand in the shadows of all these like wonderful IPs and creators and Mignola and Corbin and Judge Dredd. That's what Jose Escarzia, or I can't never pronounce his name. Thank you, Lovern. You know things better than me. I haven't met a lot of these old school guys. I just kind of work by myself. So, it took me a while to learn like Sinkavich. I called him Sinkovich back in the day.
I've heard worse.
No, I'm
I've
sure.
heard worse.
I'm sure there's some
Hey, look,
garish ones.
I've butchered Fabian's last name. I don't know how many times, and I don't know how many different ways on the show. Like, but every
Well, his
time, yeah.
weird letters that align together for his last name. So.
I love Fabian, but I don't like his last name, man. I don't. It's
It's
worse.
allowed. See,
Hey,
mine's
Laverne, he
easy.
gets it worse than you. Laverne gets, dude, he gets it so much worse than you, Laverne. When I'm trying to pronounce his name, it's
Oh,
spelled.
you
Oh,
mean Mr. Nicieza?
yeah, Nicieza. See, and I'll get it
Okay.
wrong when he's on, but whatever. You know, it's like
I'm
that. I
sure
can
I
get it
pronounced
right.
it wrong too.
Yeah,
It's you look at that name, you have no clue how to pronounce it. So
yeah.
forgive yourself.
Fabian's name hurts my
Hey,
brain.
what about Joe Chido?
Yeah, because it's spelled like Choido or something.
Chiodo.
Chiodo. There you go. It's like all
What?
long.
Wait, what?
He told me that's actually how it's supposed to be pronounced.
Oh, that's
But
a
it got-
Chiodo.
But it got anglicized into Chido.
Ah, good old Americans. We Americanized it. American. So,
That's,
boys, any last questions you
oh
want?
my God,
Here,
yeah,
my
because I
wife
do.
come home. She's
I
feeding the
do know.
dogs, so.
I feel like you was like about to tell me you needed to get back to work. Whatever.
Sorry, gotta help feed the dogs, and yeah, I gotta finish my cover. I'll here, hold on, I'll show it real quick. We're doing you guys get the first preview. Every cover we satirize a famous something from that era. This one we're doing instead of Footloose, it's Bigfoot Loose. So it's gonna be Kevin Bacon and
Nice.
so we had a lot of fun with that. So I'm having a lot of fun. This is the first time I've had fun on a comic in a while. So even the good ones are seldom fun, you know.
Well, I did a book similar for Marvel a long time ago called Lunatic. I don't know if you saw it. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's just fun to our job's hard enough, and I just remember I was like, man, when was the last time I laughed? And that's why I wanted to do Moonshine. It's only 4 issues, though it's long. It's like 105 pages, basically 5 issues, even though it's in 4 issues format. And then I'll get back to my stupid opus that I'm going to take too seriously, and I can get lost in that. But I'm going to have one last little fun guffaw, and we're going to have Bigfoot driving hot rods, effing things up in the South.
I like it. I like it. I do, man. I do. Hey, real quick, I gotta say, I do think for choice of a comic book world, you came up with the best answer. I've never. You got it. You got it. Because I mean,
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
yeah, no, dude. Like, are you serious? Like top 10, but like, yeah, but dude, no, like, because we've had care because no world is safe in comics. But yeah, you picked a. Yeah,
That's the beauty of comics. You don't need a budget. Anything you can think of, you can do. From Mouse to Rob Liefeld Deadpool, you can stretch the chasm of anything you can think of. To Mobius, to people that digitally paint, to people that make 3D models and make comics out of it, to people that paint with their fingers, to people that use literally cut out paper. Comics are the best medium because whatever you want, you can do. If you want to make... No producer's telling you, we don't have the budget for this. We can't. You can just, if you can think of it, you can do it. It's truly freedom.
Zach,
it's true freedom.
You're going to start another discussion, and you said you needed to go draw because I'm telling you right now, when we had, I keep on bringing up John Delaney, but that's just because I swear.
I wanted to end on masturbation, but you ruined the whole thing by going
Look,
on.
I swear, dude, you're going to make me have to edit this thing, or it's going to get pulled from YouTube because you keep bringing that crap up.
Shut up.
But no, like, damn it, Zach. But no, you say Fry from Futurama is your favorite character, and it's funny because that's something that we got into with John as far as in drawing his face and how to find emotion within that.
Person. He's the best everyman character I've ever seen. Fry from Futurama. You have to root for him. You have no choice. You want to see this poor guy win. You want to see him win so bad, and you wanted that for Homer, but you laughed. You really kind of wanted to see his finger cut off and all the stuff like that. But there's something beautiful about Fry. I felt emotionally like when it originally got canceled, the end of episode 4 with the he's playing the picture phone for Leela at the end, and he makes the deal. That's one of the most beautiful 30 minutes you'll ever
All
see
right.
in a story ever.
I gotta know Zach's favorite Futurama episode.
Man, it rotates. It just because I'll just kind of meander. That's probably the most beautiful and heartfelt of all of them.
I can kind of agree, but if you want to talk about just heart wrenching, Fry's dog.
Oh, the dog. Well, that's notorious. They even made fun of it in later seasons. How it's hard to watch. It's hard to watch. It's hard. It's so good, but that's also good storytelling. Some stories should hurt you almost when you're done. You grow. You grow after that, in that little terror in your soul. You grow kind of more muscle or something. There's something in there that. But you can't do it all the time. It hurts too much.
You put it.
That's the old lesson from fairy tales.
Yes, correct.
Well,
There's a cost, right?
You tear muscles to grow them. So when you think emotionally,
when you're lifting weights to get bigger, you got to tear them, and I think you got to tear a little bit at your soul to become a deeper person, right? To get that empathy well bigger, the fabric larger, so you can catch more, understand more, and feel more. Because I think that's why we're here, right? To experience things. So, hell, if you're not here for that, what the hell are you doing?
I fully agree. I fully
endless
agree.
things to experience in this world. Go find some that make you happy and make others happy too.
Well,
pet a few dogs along the way.
Always. Hey, look. Or our new mascot over here, Scotty.
Kitty pants.
He's a really cute kitty. He's been. Hey, Lovern, this cat has made an appearance in every episode of the show since we got him. The first being with you and Shoddy. I just want to point out, and then he bit me. He straight bit me in the face last night on the episode prior. Yeah, with Becca and yeah.
That'll be your viral moment.
Dude, he went full tiger, right on the side of my face, man. I've looked at it. I've got to make it into a reel, right? But
that Deadpool energy, man.
Dude,
so.
At least he ain't shooting no optic blasts. You know what I mean? So that's good. I'd be worried I don't need holes in my house or anyone else's, right? But for everyone out there, man, I hope you've enjoyed this. Check all the links in the description. You can find out more about Zach's work right now. If you have enjoyed this, though, right? If you've thoroughly enjoyed this quest, what I want you to do is I want you to send Zach a Bigfoot with a bunch of moonshine, because why not? A big wheel.
Like a hollowed out Bigfoot with liquor in it?
No, I'm gonna have the Bigfoot sending your way. He's gonna have some moonshine for you.
So I gotta drink shine with the actual Bigfoot?
Yeah, and then he's gonna have the big wheel for you from back in the day from when you were a kid.
More like a beer can label, man.
All right. Oh.
Pretty much.
Plus some really boss spaghetti and meatballs, right? To just sit there and enjoy.
Always, right?
Yeah, just sit there and enjoy that, and just enjoy that with the Bigfoot, right? Right now, if for some reason you haven't enjoyed this quest, again, I ask, why are you here? Why are you here? Why are you at the end of the quest, right? If you are, though, whatever, right? I can tell you a little bit of how to torture Zach, right? So, if that's what you want to do, what I want you to do is...
Don't understand satire. That's how you torture me.
Well,
my facial hair
he says supernatural creatures don't exist, right? Right? This is what Zach said.
But I'm having fun drawing one, whether or not he actually exists. So that's all that matters.
Well, yeah, all I'm going to say is you say that they don't. So what I'm going to say is instead, what we do is if you just get a pack of just really, really stupid people. You know what I mean? People that have no idea what satire is. You send them to Zach in just a great, they are a great choir to sing bop, bop.
Well, they ask Star Wars questions.
Well, they serve him nothing but sauerkraut. That's what you do if you didn't enjoy this.
Sauerkraut, it's kind of like that's what puts it over the edge, right?
I mean, I'm trying to put it. You want me to make it worse, Zach? I could start
No,
making.
sauerkraut's pretty rough, brother. I'm gonna be
Okay.
honest.
Okay.
That's one that doesn't. I can't take it.
Just like I'm like sitting here. I'm like I can sit here like Dr. Evil and just
You
make
got
it
Dr.
worse
Evil kicking, brother.
and worse and worse, Zach. If that's what you want, right? But Zach needs to draw. I need to edit. Lovern needs to color. We all got things to do. For all y'all
Great
out there.
seeing you, Lovern. Been forever.
Hey, look, we gonna
Great seeing
try
you.
plot some more things because we got some pan comps coming up over here pretty soon. They're gonna get pretty deep.
Let's do this again when Moonshine comes out. Then we'll talk.
Oh, totally, right?
I'm
But
up
for
for
everyone
that.
out there watching, I just want y'all to do 3 more things, right? 1,
3.
yeah. 1, they just got to give it that thumbs up or, the equivalent, whatever, wherever you are, Spotify, wherever you're listening. 2, always get your comic on. 3, have a good night, y'all.
This has been the questionnaire.
Where's the link?
Thanks for checking out the questionnaire.
In the link below, yes?
I will drop it like it's hot.
That's another party.
It's cool, man. I love it.
The questionnaire. That is all.